exposing your game and your thin blue line is aflame. As you lie, and I find that you lie. Yeah, well you lied. A good rendition of You Lie there. So today we're going to do some more videos. Before I systematically dismantle the state police and verbally assault them, I felt that a video that would be positive and that needs to be said is a commendation about a particular trooper. This guy's name is Steve Lidak. Okay, he operates out of the Houghton Lake Post, and I had a run-in with this guy, and then 2.5 years later, just a few days ago, I ran into him again in a restaurant with some other troopers that he was having lunch with or breakfast, and he just impressed upon me. I was impressed upon him 2.5 years ago, but then when this happened a few days ago, when I ran into him, it impressed upon me further, and I felt that this video was necessary, considering the subject matter of my channel. Because not all cops are bad. As much as I want to call them pigs and other horrible shit, not all cops are bad. It would be ridiculous of me to say that all cops are bad. So it would be inaccurate. So this guy, Steve Lidak, Lidak, he is out of the Houghton Lake Post, and which is where all this other nonsense is taking place as well. So Steve Lidak pulled me over on a traffic stop on northbound 131, just north of Kalkaska, 2.5 years ago, whatever winter that was. And there was an accident scene that was there, an accident that had just happened. I don't know where the hell to look at this stupid thing, by the way, so if my eyes are drifting off, I apologize. Accident just happened. I rolled up on the thing with, 2 rows of cars in front of me. No emergency personnel are on scene. I'm on my way somewhere else. It's the middle of a blizzard. You can't see behind you. I'm thinking, holy shit, somebody's going to run into the back of us or whatever. And I'm like, well, screw this. Nobody's doing anything. So I'm just going to skirt around the accident. So I threw my 4-ways on or whatever and just went around it. Now, I had to cross the double yellow in order to do that, but I went around it nevertheless. So as soon as I'm getting around this thing, a trooper rolls up, rolls his window down. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's kind of fucking yelling at me, and I guess I probably deserved it. So I yelled back. I'm like, what else are we going to do, man? Nobody was here. Nobody's injured. There's not bodies lying everywhere. Nothing I'm going to do. I'm trying to get around this thing and get out of your way, etc., etc. "Pull it over," he says to me. All right. So I pull it over, and comes up to the window, and he was short with me and abrupt. "Give me your license and registration." "Here you go, dude." Blah, 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 da, da, da. And then I told him some more of my reasoning, which is the same reason I gave him before. It's like, "Look, man, I was worried somebody's going to run into the back of me. Nobody else is here. What do you want me to do?" Right? So he goes back to his car, presumptively to run me through SOS on the computer, lean NCIC, all this other shit. Comes back up to my truck window 5 minutes later. He's like, "Mr. Evans, you've got a perfect driving record." He said, "The points you gave are valid. I'm not going to give you a ticket. Drive safe. Get out of here." "Thank you, sir. Appreciate it." Okay. So here I am driving along, and I'm like, man, I'm starting to feel pretty bad that I was so rude to that guy. I mean, I forgot to tell you that I was pretty rude to this fucking guy, right? Because I was pissed that, he just rolls up on an accident scene, and the first one he's looking at is me, just simply because I'm trying to get out of there and get out of the fucking way. And so I was pissed. I had attitude. I was cussing and swearing at the guy and this kind of thing. And here I am driving along, and it occurs to me that this guy could have jammed me up quite easily. Improper lane usage, fucking crossing a double yellow. There's a ton of shit that he could have nailed me with, but he didn't, right? And so it started fucking bothering me, right? Because they have a thankless job for the most part. So I think it was the next day or whatever, I got on the horn with the MSP post, talked to a desk sergeant there. I said, look, man, I said, I think you got a guy named Lidak that works out of there. I said, I owe him an apology. I said, I'd like to get a hold of him. They said, sure, man, we'll give you his cell phone number. Cool. So I call his cell phone, leave a message, and I didn't get a call back. And I'm thinking, well, shit, this guy's probably pissed at me for being a dick, And I don't know, 3-4 hours later, my phone rings, and it's, unregistered or restricted or whatever. And I'm like, that's got to be him. So I answer the phone, and he said, Mr. Evans? I said, yes, sir. I knew immediately who it was. I said, Trooper Lidak. And I just told him, I said, look, man, I said, I feel bad because, you could have totally jammed me up, right? And I fucking was rude to you, and it bothers me. I feel bad about it, because you guys have a thankless job, blah, blah, da, da, da. So we talked for, 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. And he says to me, he said, the points you made were valid. And he says, I don't believe in punitive tickets, And so that made an impression on me, right? Here this guy is, he's got it, judging by his age, he's had to have been a trooper for 20 years at least, seasoned guy. He knows he could have jammed me up, right? So that's basically what he said to me. And then he said, man, I really appreciate you doing that. And he said, believe me, he said, what you said to me, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, what you said to me pales in comparison to what some other people have said to me. So, I kind of laughed, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, All right, man, have a good one, be safe, da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. All right, 2.5 years go by. I'm sitting in a restaurant having breakfast before I had to get to a meeting I had, and I look over, and there's like 3 or 4 troopers sitting at this table. I think there was 3 of them. And I'm like, man, that one guy looks familiar, right? So I'm eating my breakfast, and I can see they're getting up or whatever, getting ready to leave. And I looked over there, and I said, man, is one of you guys Lidak? And he's getting up, and they looked at him, and he kind of said, yeah, well, that's me, in a real humble way, right? And he starts walking over to me, and I said, man, do you remember me? I said, I was the guy that called you to apologize because I was being an asshole when you pulled me over for going around the accident scene. He cut me off, and he's like, absolutely, I remember you. So he walks over to me, and he's kind of holding on to his hat like this, he was just very humble in his approach to me. Act like he had a lot of humility, right? And the first thing out of his mouth was, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that phone call, And I mean, that fucking struck at me, right? Because here he is again, this tenured guy, state trooper. Certainly, I don't know why the guy hasn't made rank. If he needs to make rank, right? This is the model of guy that the state police needs to model their people after. This guy, Steve Lidak, right? So again, we had, our quick little talk, and his other troopers, were rolling out, and, he doesn't know that this has happened to me. So, I mean, I made some comment as, I appreciate you being a human being. Most cops aren't cool, And he's like, well, these 2 guys are, and they didn't seem interested in my conversation. I didn't give a shit about them anyway. So I just continued to tell Steve, I said, man, you were just righteous with me, dude. You could have totally jammed me up. And you chose to use discretion and just listen to what I was saying. But again, I was rude. I felt bad. I apologize, blah, blah. And he's like, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I still remember that phone call. So the dude remembers me 2.5 years later. I remembered him 2.5 years later because of our interaction that we had on the traffic stop. And now, after seeing that guy at the restaurant, oh, I'm going to remember him for the rest of my life. Because he just has he exudes professionalism and humility, and he's just a fucking human being with you, right? Whereas this fucking asshole Cody Dole, who also works out of the Houghton Lake Post, is a piece of shit. And I would assume that, you know, good cops like Steve Lidak would fucking be pissed that Cody Dole has brought what he's brought upon the house of the Michigan State Police, specifically at the fucking Houghton Lake Post. Guys like Steve Lidak should be fucking pissed. But I just wanted to put this commendation out there, because these guys never get a commendation really from normal citizens like me. Like, I remember you, Steve. You treated me like a fucking human being. You remembered me, and you just showed so much humility and professionalism with me. You need to be commended for that. And, you know, and that's basically all I have to say, because every other video is going to be fucking straight up vicious. The music that I produce in my studio here about the Michigan State Police is going to be vicious, okay? I don't give a fuck. These people have pulled some sketchy shit in my particular case because they're trying to avoid getting sued under 42 U.S.C. section 1983 for deprivation of my rights under color of law. That's what the fuck they're trying to do. We're going to get into the rest of these videos, and you'll see that this is exactly what they're trying to do. So before I got into that, I had to put this commendation out. So Steve Lidak, I genuinely fucking hope that you're safe on the job, buddy. And get a hold of these young little bastards that are coming out of the academy and fucking just tell them to chill out, dude. They don't have to be assholes like the majority of them are. I mean, unless that's the culture at the MSP, that you got to fucking aggressively climb that ladder, man. And in order to do that, you got to be an asshole. I don't know. Maybe it is. But guys like him are a model for the fucking Michigan State Police. And thank you, Steve Lidak. I'll see you on the next video.
Now remember my name, I'm exposing your game and your thin blue lies of flame. As you lie, and I fly. As you lie.